Hello, everybody. My name is Tim Daniel. His name is Joe Farfsing. Ben Brown will be with us right now. Just in time.
Woo! Woo!
And welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of Late Night Reds on the Riverfront, where you can hang out with us, and you can also check out our good friends over at SeatGeek. Joe, you were just at UC Oklahoma. Say someone needed to go get some UC tickets later this year for another football game at Nippert Stadium for some reason or another. How could they support not only the SeatGeek, but the good friends at the Riverfront?
You can log into the SeatGeek app, use code Riverfront for your very first order, and you get $20 off your tickets. Easiest to use, simplest platform out there. They grade every single seat ticket. Green dot is a great deal. Red dot is a bad deal. Easiest platform there is. Riverfront, one word. Boom. We're here to save you guys money.
We're here to save you money. Absolutely. I like it. We got some people hanging out in the chat. We got Josh Scott and Sydney hanging out. What's up, everybody? How you doing? And they're referencing last night's Reds Pirates game. And I know people want to kind of talk about that. Not really feeling that. I want to have fun today. You know, we can very easily talk about how bad this week has been. And it's very simple to do so, but we're going to have fun tonight. All right. So we're going to talk about some guys who've been hitting their stride of late. And then we're going to spend the rest of the show after that sharing just Joey Votto memories. And if today was indeed the final day that Joey Votto is in the lineup of the Cincinnati Reds at Great American Ballpark, I want to make sure that I talk about it with my friends. And we can just talk about all the great memories he's given us the last 17 years. And then some, if you're a minor league prospect kind of guy from the early 2000s. And we'll get to that as well. But before we do get to that, Ben, got to tip my cap. Hell of a game. But your guys came out on top.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. It kind of broke up there a little bit. What was your question?
No. I was saying, I was just saying, giving you props for Ohio State winning last night.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I told you going into it, like I thought that you guys had the better team. I was not a big supporter of Ryan Day in big games. Always felt like he got super conservative. Always felt like when it mattered most, like he just couldn't make the right call. You guys helped us out by running a screen on third down. I don't know what you guys were thinking.
Yeah.
You guys helped us out a ton. Yeah, I mean, you all helped us out immensely. But overall, I can't say that it was bad play calling by Ryan Day. I'm not a fan of not taking points when you get a chance to take points, going on for it on fourth down and not kicking a field goal. I'm not a big fan of that. I always just think in big games, points matter. But But overall, I thought it was a spectacular game. Notre Dame is head and shoulders of where you guys were even last year. I mean, you got the quarterback thing situated. Up front, you guys are just physical. Oh my gosh, your offensive line is physical. So you guys are going to give people fits. You guys will be in that playoff hunt. Just this loss will not hurt you. As a matter of fact, this loss may have helped your chances going throughout the season because everybody saw how physically tough you guys are, and everybody saw how good this team can be.
Yeah, I was telling Jeff before we came on, I was like, I'm not discouraged at all they lost. I thought they played well enough to win.
Mm-hmm.
Some things went Ohio State's way. It
Mm-hmm.
happens. Life goes on.
Yep, and that's football.
Yeah, absolutely. But we're not here to talk about that, guys. I want to start this week's show. So obviously, we're going to get into the week coming up. But I want to talk about old good pal Terry Lee, TJ Friedel, my guy, doing it this last month. Check it.
Mm-hmm.
Look at his last 30 games. 296, 403, 582. That is for the kids keeping home, that is a 985 OPS right now. On the season, 280, 353, 466, 17 bombs, 63 ribeyes, 45 walks, 26 stolen bases. I had an inside the park home run in this Pirates series. That was pretty awesome. Just been so fun. What a year he's had. And this is a guy, we're going to get into, obviously, I want to get both you guys' thoughts on what he's brought to the team this year. But the story of this guy is fascinating. So Doug Gray from Reds Minor Leagues, Red Leg Nation put out today, TJ Friedel was in the Rule 5 draft twice and was not picked up by anybody. We also know the story about how the Reds no one drafted him. The Reds got him on a minor league free agent contract. That story's been told many of times, but the ability to hit anywhere in the lineup, the ability to hit lefties and righties, the ability to play really good defense, sneaky pop, and might just be GABP pop, but I'm going to say 19 homers is 19 homers. So I'm going to give it to him. And then obviously we knew the speed was there. The ability to bunt for base hits, which is probably overused a little too much during the summer months. But man, Ben, what a great year for TJ Friedel. Right, Ben froze. Joe, what a great year for TJ Friedel.
Yeah, I mean, coming into the season, it was kind of like I always liked Friedel. Like coming through the minors, he always put up decent numbers. And kind of the question was, what is he when he gets to the when he gets to the majors? If he gets to the majors, is he a fourth, fifth outfielder? You hear about how great his base running is and how great his defense is, but he's had so much more pop. And with his, we'll say 18 home runs, because the inside parker, he'd have probably more inside the parkers if he didn't play in this absolute crazy bandbox. But the pop that he's shown is so much more than, you think maybe this is Billy Hamilton, the guy that's going to hit 4 or 5 bombs a year, but he's still, I mean, his average exit velocity is relatively low, but he's learned how to become a useful major league player. And instead of being a placeholder at center, like I thought he might be, and just an extra piece, I think he is a piece for the next handful of years. I mean, again, he's a fantastic defender, really good base runner, and he hits left-handers like just trying to pull up the numbers real quickly here. He's 345, 415, 560. I mean, that's a 976 OPS as a top of the lineup hitter against same-handed things, and he's not exactly a slouch against righties. So he's completely just turned a lot of heads, and he's a dude. He's not an extra piece. He's a dude.
Yeah, I agree. Benny, we're gonna bring you in.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, Joe. Yeah, no, I think Joe, he hit the nail right on the head. I think that he's a guy that you've got a center fielder you can slot in there every day. Not only does he run the bases well, he's going to be contacting and gives you pop. He's a guy that you weren't expecting to give you that much pop at the top of your lineup, and now you got a guy there with that lineup. When that lineup is solidified, you've got 5 legitimate guys that can hit 20 home runs in your lineup. I mean, that's a legit thing when you're looking at that lineup coming into next year. You got CES, you got Ellie, you got McLean, you got him, you got Steer. I mean, that's 5 guys at the top of your lineup possibly that can hit over 20 home runs. On top of that, steal bases. So not only are they guys that are going to give you pop, they're also going to run well and put pressure on defenses being able to steal bases. So yeah, Friedel has been outstanding this year and a guy that's really kind of solidified that center field spot.
Yeah, I would probably add Jake Fridley to that potential 20 home run guys as well because he missed a month this year and had 15 homers.
And he's playing on one
that's
foot.
Another
He's
one.
been playing on one foot for a month.
Yeah.
I think the best thing about TJ Friedel, just we everything you guys talked about, he's been such a spark. First off, luscious lettuce, incredible lettuce.
He cut it off though. He cut it short.
Yeah.
So disappointing.
Has like the worst scan in MLB The Show of probably any player in baseball. It is not good. It's not his fault, so I'm not blaming him. Yeah. But it is not good. But I do think that he is. I do think that the dynamic he brings, as far as I agree, like Joe, we talked about this when we were on with Nate not too long ago, where it's like, I feel like he's a little close to his ceiling, and maybe he is. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, right? I mean, like if you get like another 2-3 years out of him where he's doing stuff like this for you, I mean, look, like let's look at center field. Let's take out Shin-Soo Choo and we'll go back to like Mike Cameron and Ken Griffey Jr. for good center fielders offensively.
Yeah.
So that's 2000.
Yeah.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, I know Jay Bruce played center field for a hot minute when he got called up, but that lasted all of.
I was going to say, that wasn't enough to be like, he solidified center field.
Yeah, and I love Drew. I mean, Drew had a 2040 year, and Drew's our guy. He's been on the show, friend of the program, but we know the conversation there with what he was and what he wasn't. So I'm not insulting him by any stretch of the matter with that, but like what Friedel's bringing them right now, they haven't had it so long. Me personally, I know India's best in the lineup leading off. TJ Friedel would be my leadoff hitter until further notice, aka when Matt McClain comes back. That'll be a conversation we'll have again, which we're going to get to that later in the show. But just a fun, dynamic player. If the Reds were probably in playoff contention, we're probably talking about him being up there for the Gold Glove.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's a 3.5 win player on Baseball Reference.
Yep.
Yeah. So
yes, he is.
You take that every day of the week. And also, dude, like I just love the aggressiveness. Like stolen bases are one thing, but being aggressive on the bats is so fun too. There were so many plays this week, this week alone where it's like a deep fly ball to center field and he's on first base and he takes second. And I love that shit. And like I know that's kind of the identity of this team, but I feel like he's a forerunner with that. So that homer he hit today was kind of a unique game where it's like they're getting no hit through 5 innings. They're down 2-0, and the only people getting on base are him and India at the top of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was kind of fascinating. It's like they were just kind of keeping him in the game, and then they got the first 2 hits. India gets the single, Friedel hits the homer, and then I'm sorry, Friedel got the RBI, then later got the homer. Got on base 4 times today. Shit, man, if he doesn't get hurt, he might have been he might have been a Reds All-Star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's likely.
Pretty wild. But for one guy who has been tearing the cover off the ball to another, say it with me, folks. C-E-S.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Aren't you guys going to miss my wrestling gifts when the season's over here in a week? Dude.
I'm sure you'll find plenty of use for them somewhere, so I don't think they're going anywhere.
I'm sure I will. Yeah, I've got nothing better to do with my time now until basketball season starts in a couple weeks. I don't cover the Bengals like Joe does, so I don't have to worry about that on a week-to-week basis. I can just yell in my basement.
I mean, if tomorrow goes sideways, then I might not even worry about it, and I'll just show up and be drunk when I do every episode. So it can be entertaining.
Yeah, I guess we find out tomorrow morning is the latest report I saw. So
yeah.
Let's look at Christian Encarnacion Strand. So I know Ben texted me about him on like Wednesday. Like, have you looked at these splits lately? And I was like, of course I've looked at the splits lately. This last week, a 1.444 OPS with 5 homers, 10 RBI, 6 runs, 10 hits, and that's counting the homer he hit today to kind of break the game open. I don't know. Would you call 2 runs breaking a game up? You know what I'm talking about.
No,
But
yeah.
Provided cushion.
yes, that's correct. Thank you, Joe. That's the best way to put it. But I think the thing, when you heard about him coming up, so let's go back to the trade last year. Don't get me wrong, I was stoked about Spencer Steer, but I was like stoked about Christian Encarnacion Strand. They're like, oh, he's going to go to Double A in Chattanooga. He's going to be there for a little bit. Start next year in Louisville. Friendly reminder that when Joey was hurt at spring training, if CES is not hurt, he might be the opening day first baseman, not Jason Vossler.
We would have been spared the Jason Vossler experience, though.
That's true. I mean,
our lives have been enriched for having the other JB in our.
I was going to say, didn't you enjoy that? Like, what the heck?
It was a good couple days, and then
yeah,
the next 2 weeks were a reminder of who he actually was.
He led the team in home runs when he was DFA'd.
Yeah.
I think he had like 6 or 7 when he had DFA'd. Okay, let's break it down real quick before we talk more about Strand. What era of the 2023 Reds was the most memorable? Jason Vossler, Will Myers, or Hunter Renfroe? By the way, this team's won 80 games this year. We had 3 guys taking at-bats for us.
And intermittent Kevin Newman taking at-bats.
Yeah.
Replacing Votto.
Don't forget Cade New.
Yeah. And Harrison Bader. And Kirk Casale. Well, Kirk Casale had like 6 at-bats one month, but without being injured.
There's a ton of obscure former Reds that are current Reds still that, we're going to look back fondly on this season. Like, how did the team win that many games with these guys getting at bats?
Mm-hmm.
Matt Reynolds, City brought him up. Yeah. Matt Reynolds.
Yeah, he's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. Just awesome. But anyway, getting back to Strand, when I was down in Louisville this year, I was kind of asking people about like what he had been doing this year besides what we had just seen the highlights of like 900-foot home runs and things like that. They're like, he swings and misses a lot. They're like, he really strikes out a lot. But if he does make contact, it goes a long way. Kind of similar stuff you heard about LA De La Cruz. And you kind of could tell, when the trade was made, I was like, this is the backup plan for when Joey moves on. This is going to be probably the guy who plays first base. Steer, obviously, in that conversation as well. Those are they're your corner infielders for the future. But what he's done these past few weeks, where when he came up, you saw these big homers, but you also saw a lot of strikeouts. You saw a lot of, I wouldn't say uncompetitive at-bats, but probably letting at-bats get away from him just with his, instinct to swing. Not blaming him one bit, but you've seen him work counts lately. You've seen him getting hitters advantages. You've seen him take walks. And that was kind of the next part in the evolution, the maturation of Christian Encarnacion Strand. Yes. And so for next year, obviously we're looking at how excited we're going to be for this guy, but man, what a freaking couple weeks he's had for this team. Just absolutely needed with all these injuries.
Yeah. I mean, I think that the biggest thing that I've noticed is the fact that he's been getting the more we needed quality at bats, the better he's gotten. So, we were in the playoff hunt. We're trying to chase down this wild card. Matt McClain goes out of the lineup. Fraley's on one foot. Votto's hit or miss. Ellie's in a slump. And CES steps in and starts hitting the freaking cover off the baseball. And he starts taking good quality at bats, and he starts hitting home runs and driving runs in and doing all those little things that we knew that he was able to do, and he was doing them in big moments. So it was good to see him become a more professional hitter as the season got tighter, because a lot of guys, they feel that pressure of when you're in that playoff hunt and you start to take wild at bats because you're trying to win the game on one swing. And he got better at taking pitches and taking at bats and taking good quality at bats in order for him to get good quality hits. So that was positive to see with him. And he's just been on a tear this last 15, 16 days. He's just absolutely been just killing the ball.
Yeah, even backing out to, like Ben said, his last 15 games, he has 10 strikeouts in 15 games, still hitting 353, 400, 725. I mean, that's an 1100 OPS.
Mm-hmm.
And 10 strikeouts in 15 games. I mean, that's 100 strikeouts a season. That's palatable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not bad. I mean, that's probably 50th percentile.
Yep.
Obviously, you want to see him still be a little more selective. He's still not walking a whole bunch. But if this is who he is, I mean, nobody's saying he's going to be Vlad Guerrero because there was only one Vlad Guerrero. But Alfonso Soriano had a hell of a career swinging at everything when he was in his prime. I mean, you want him to be more selective and take, but I mean, there's a pathway for him to be a very, very competitive and productive hitter with the same aggression. For me, it's the whole, when it's 2-0 and there's a pitch 6 inches out of the zone and he swings for it, swings and misses. And then all of a sudden it's a competitive at bat and pitcher gets right back in it. But those are things that I think he will learn. And again, I mean, he's been lights out every time. I mean, I haven't had as much chance to watch a ton of games lately, nor have I really wanted to with the way that the pen has been kind of working. But every time I see an update on my phone, in play runs, it's Christian Encarnacion Strand hits a home run. Christian Encarnacion Strand, 2-run home run. It's like, holy crap, this guy's on a tear right now.
Low key, decent runner too.
Yeah, he's a good base runner, better than a fast runner. He's a good base runner.
Right. Yeah.
Knows when to be aggressive and knows he's not out there. He's not Ellie De La Cruz trying to steal second, third, every single time he's out there, but he'll take the extra base and he'll take the base when he's got the chance.
Yeah, for sure. And then Scott did bring up Noelvi Marte does have an 11-game hit streak. I'm happy to talk about Noelvi Marte any day of the week. We just did a segment on him last week, so I want to make sure we gave love around. We spread the love around. Spread love. It's the Brooklyn way here at Late Night Reds. So I wanted to make sure we get that in there.
Absolutely.
Randy asked, why did the Reds have CES play third? So Randy, he played, I'm not sure if you knew this or not, but he played everywhere in AAA this year because they were trying to figure out just how to get him in the big league lineup. So he played first, he played third, he played right field, he played left field. I don't think he played anything crazy like middle infield or anything, but they were kind of moving him all over the place to kind of see where they could get him comfortable for where the Reds would need him. If you look at the guys who've played third base for the Reds this year, not counting Spencer Steer, I think that just getting his bat there made a lot of sense. Well, Marte and Ellie, obviously, but that's going to be a really fascinating thing. So I think that's the beauty about Steer playing left field, right? Is instead of having this conversation that we're going to have all winter when we have nothing to talk about, as far as like who's going to play what position, you kind of know, right? It's CES, McLean, Ellie, Marte, and then Steer probably in left field. TJ Friedel in center field. Some Will Benson, left-handed guy, right field. Jake Fraley is a DH. I don't know how catcher's going to line up. We're going to do this next week. We're going to go through the big league roster currently and say who will be and who won't be. That's next week's show. I want to make sure the season was over before we got to that. So
you're doing playoff prep next week. Come on now.
That's there. There's that. There's that.
It's not over yet.
Not but over till it's over.
But it's probably over. Settle down there, Christopher Lloyd.
Come on, everyone, do it with me. Everyone, do it with me. But yeah, I love it. I'm a big fan of his. I think like you guys said, everything that he's been doing for this team has been tremendous and terrific. And I don't mean Scott to discredit or not talk about what Marte's done for this team because we talked about it last week. He's a guy that gives you big league at-bats. And he's giving you big league at-bats from the jump. He's competitive in his at-bats. He is one hell of an outfielder. By the way, Edwin Arroyo is still coming at some point. I'd assume probably, depending how, if someone gets injured, probably mid next year. But it's going to be really, really fun. So I forgot to put this in there. And we talked a little bit last week about this, Ben, about Hunter kind of getting back in form. Can we just talk about the 14 strikeout game the other day?
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
He was lights out, man.
It sucks so bad the bullpen blew the game for him.
Yeah.
Because no one's, I don't know if people will probably remember more the strikeouts than the game, but holy mackerel, dude. He was like from Jump Street. First pitch, he was locked in. The homer he gave up was like a 93-mile-an-hour exit velocity. So that's just GABP kicking in.
Yep.
But man, unreal. So happy to see.
And we talked about that though. Like the maturation of him being able to pitch, after the injury and regaining form because everybody was so distraught after his first start after the injury. But we talked about it. It's going to take time, man. These are major league hitters. This is a major league baseball team. It's going to take time for him to get back into form. And his last almost 3 starts have been flipping incredible. And you're starting to see what Hunter Green truly is. And that is a big time pitcher, an ace of a staff, and a guy that can lead a team, lead a team's pitching staff a long way.
Yeah, just his 3 starts this month. 127 batting average against, walks, hits, innings pitch at 0.75. So he's giving up 3/4 of a base runner every inning. 29 strikeouts in 18 innings. I mean, that's 14 to 18.2 innings. So that's what 14 Ks per 9.
Yeah.
He's, again, I don't know if he's at ace level because there's only 15 of those guys, but he's a number one.
Yeah.
I mean, there are only 30 number 1 pitchers, and he's going to go into next year as the number 1 pitcher. Yeah, I mean, he came out rough when he came back from, again, being out for 2 months. His first 2 games were, a little
and then
ugly,
COVID. Yeah,
exactly. Pitched the 3rd game. He pitched pretty well in the 3rd game back against San Francisco, and then he gets knocked out for 10 days. Half the pitching staff was sick, and he's been absolutely just dominant, lights out since then. So yeah, he's again, not only is he pitching fantastic, but the fact that as a second-year player, he's doing getting all the accolades for his off-the-field work too. And I don't know if that
cool.
that is going to get if that gets talked enough. A lot of these guys, you hear about all the good stuff that they do, but it still doesn't get stressed enough because a lot of the guys, they can just go through the motions or have a charity, but he's out all the time at the RBI facility here in Cincinnati. And just absolutely putting money where his mouth is when he talked about wanting to the difference that he wanted to make, and he's doing it. So again, on top of being an absolute stud on the mound, you love seeing these guys that the work they do off the field. I think that shows more of who they are and the kind of upraising that they had from as well.
I'm going to ask this. It might just be way too early because he's only going into his 3rd year next year, but early trends of Hunter Green's career show that he is a second half of the season pitcher. Is this who he is for the future? Should we not freak out in May when he's got like a 4.79 ERA and he's like 2-4 and like his whip is like right around 1.2, but like in like August when it's down to like his whip's under 1 and he's like leading the league in strikeouts? Is that what we should look for from Hunter Green?
Yeah. I mean, I think that. I think there are a lot of pitchers in baseball that are that way. You look at a lot of the guys that have won, the Cy Young the last few years, their records haven't been spectacular. It's how they finished the season. It's not how they started them, so it's he's going to have a high ERA. I think most of those guys take that first month and a half of the season to really figure out what they want to be and how they want to do it. So you can't get all flustered about how he comes into a season, knowing that when you get to July, August, and September, and hopefully October, he will be at his best form. That's how it's going to be.
I like it.
I mean, the Reds have done 17 years of Joey Votto being the slow starter, and he's had a fairly decent career, I'd say. So yeah, if this is who he is, if he's a slow starter, at the end of the year, the numbers are going to even out, and he's going to have an ERA, probably low 3s, striking out 12, 13, 14 batters per 9. Obviously, I mean, with as poorly as this team starts historically, you kind of wish that his Aprils were better to kind of help to get the team pointed in the right direction. But it's 162 games. I mean, it's your performance over 162 games are, it is what it is over that. I mean, that's good sample size. So,
well, in April, you've had Lodolo at least. So it's been fine there. We've had that to fall back on.
Yeah.
every April, their conversation is like, is Lodolo better than Green? And then we get to September, and it's like, which guy's actually pitching, which guy isn't? And this isn't a knock on Nick Lodolo. I love Nick Lodolo.
Yeah.
I think if him and Graham Ashcraft recover, then that first 4 next year is going to be nasty. I do think they need to bring a 5th in, though I do like Connor Phillips. We'll talk about that. But Joe, you joked earlier that next week we're going to be doing playoff prep. You know why we're going to be doing playoff prep next week? Because Matt McLain is coming back, baby.
Yes,
The Reds
sir.
are getting truly probably their best player back. For what at least he was before his injury. In AAA with a Louisville rehab assignment, if all goes as planned, you'll see him in Cleveland, which I'll be in Cleveland for the Wednesday game, watching Andrew Abbott versus Shane Bieber. So we're going to kind of talk about that. But how big is this? And also, I know we're all going to say yes to this, but there's some people out there who think we're crazy. He should be the everyday second baseman when he's back, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any question that he's the best. I mean, he's the best second base and shortstop that they have, but there's at least competent shortstops to cover. So, yeah. I mean, I try not to badmouth Jonathan India too much.
Same.
He's been.
I love him.
Yeah, I don't. I look at his stats, and he's had 1 good year, 2 injury plague years where he hasn't been very good. But it's McLain. He's earned that job. I mean, he's earned 150 starts at ideally primarily at second base. He's a damn good second baseman. I mean, defensively, so he's the best defensive middle infielder that they have. I mean, hell, he's the best defensive shortstop they have too, for that matter.
Yeah, I agree. I love India as far as like his personality, what he brings to the team. I do think that, I do wonder if these last 2 years is who he really is, which pains me to say because I was a full believer after the Rookie of the Year season, after that spring training going into 2021. I was all in. I've gotten to meet him. Incredibly nice, super fun dude, easy to root for, but something just hasn't been right. And it could just be recovering from injury. I hope that's the case. I don't think he'll be in the Reds lineup in 2024, but that's a different conversation.
Right.
This is just a big boost to get McLain back because Ben and I were joking one episode in like July. We're like, oh, Matt McLain struggled. Ben's like, yeah, it's been like 7 at-bats.
Right.
Oh, man. Randy asks, I love India, but can we trade him for pitching? I hope so.
Yeah. I mean,
what? And are we talking a middle reliever, or are we talking a back at the rotation starter? I don't know what his value is. Yeah,
because some of these guys are going to end up being relievers, right?
Yeah.
We talked about Brandon Williamson last week, could potentially being a reliever. I don't know if Connor Phillips is a reliever. I think he's really good, but I do think I would love to get an innings eater in that rotation next year.
I think Connor Phillips' floor is a back end of the bullpen reliever.
Yeah, I think that's great because he's kind of a bulldog. He's got the tenacity.
I've been saying since he came out, I think that's where Graham Ashcraft belongs because he's had stretches where he's been absolutely dominant, and he's had. I mean, this year's been kind of weird. He started out amazing, had a stretch of being awful, and then back into another stretch of being amazing.
And then injured.
Yeah, exactly. And then another pitcher with the season-ending injury. But I think he's probably a reliever long term. But again, another power arm if he can figure out how to. I've never seen someone who can throw 3 pitches 98 miles an hour or above and not be able to strike anyone out. That's weird.
Yeah, he's like a great ground ball pitcher, but it is. Yeah, you're right. To get back to Randy's question, if that's the route they have to go, fine. Because if this team goes into next year and Buck Farber and Ian Jabot are still in this bullpen, I know Jabot got the save today. I was losing my shit when Alexis came out for the 8th inning. I was like, all right, 6-out save. Let's go. I'm through this. I dig it. And then Jabot comes and closes the game, and I went, what? But it worked out. Thankfully, the Pirates were the Pirates. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no way. There's just no way. I mean, look at a game like yesterday. And I didn't want to get fully into it, But Connor Phillips leaves that game. It's 9-1. The bullpen's only job is don't give up 9 runs. It's your only job. They gave up 12.
Didn't. I was gonna say, they didn't give up 9 runs.
They gave up 12.
Right.
And Sidney said, is Hunter Strickland available? I'm sure he is, but no.
I thought that was Buck Strickland from Strickland Propane. Any King of the Hill fans?
Oh, I like it.
Hey, I'm with you.
I like it. I like it, Joe.
Propane accessories.
Oh, boy,
I'm gonna say it again. Because he's a free agent. If Texas doesn't bring him back, bring me Chapman. Put him in the bullpen next year. Back end, love it. I really want Sonny Gray back next year. Robert just brought this up. If he can be the inning eater, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's going to cost, but the Reds aren't going to be hurting for money next year.
No.
So,
yeah. There's literally like $20.
Hunter.
Yeah, Hunter's the only player that's going to be making more than $2 million. I mean, Junior's going to go into the year as the second highest paid Red.
Yeah, and then not to mention Hunter. Hunter's contract right now looks like a biggie bag at Wendy's. Like it looks like a bargain. Like
yeah.
Speaking of Hunter, so as Ben and I discussed a couple weeks ago with our good friend Quincy from Guardians Fancast, the Battle of Ohio is still on this week. We got 2 games this week. For the Reds to bring the cup back, I don't know if people know this. We did find this out. Ben and I did find confirmation.
Yes, we did.
The Reds have to win these 2 games to bring the cup back to GABP, or I don't know, at this shared facility in Goodyear. Where do they put it? Who knows? If they in fact split this 1-1, Cleveland will still keep the cup for another tied season.
No.
Oh my God! Is this
Your passion for the Ohio Cup, Ben?
I mean,
I'm glad someone cares.
It's really echoing. It's really, you can really feel it.
We must have the Ohio Cup back at Nick Cross' house. It's got to happen. What are we doing?
So these are the 2 matchups. You have Hunter Green going against Lucas Giolotto. And this matchup in June was like, oh my God, I can't wait. Now you're like, oh, okay. With hitting that kind of rookie wall. Andrew Abbott versus Shane Bieber. I'll be at this game. Looking forward to being there. I know for a fact I'll see Willie Beam in that game in right field. That's where I'm sitting. And so that'll be nice because Bieber's a right-handed pitcher. But Bieber's kind of been awesome against everybody. Don't get me wrong. But particularly against the Reds in his 5 career starts, pretty solid.
Yeah.
Pretty solid. Obviously, this guy is a former Cy Young winner. He's a former pitching Triple Crown winner. So the dude's a dog. I mean, the guy is incredible. But in this stretch where, look, I think we can go ahead and eliminate the Cubs, right? We don't have to worry about the Cubs conversation anymore. This is down to the Reds and the Marlins at this point.
Right. Yeah.
And the Marlins have the Mets and the Pirates this week. And the Reds have the Guardians and the Cardinals, which both those teams are awful. We're not going to get a strength of schedule ever again. We're not ever going to lean on that ever again for high hopes because obviously it kicks us in the butt every time. But obviously I just like Ben would absolutely love to bring back the Ohio Cup to wherever it goes.
I told you it goes in Nick Cross' basement.
Next to his Oakland A's 20 game in a row pennant.
Yes, I'm telling you. Exactly where it goes.
Ben, I know Joe's heard this. Ben, have you ever heard Nate talk about Moneyball and how it's like overrated?
How Moneyball is overrated?
The movie,
I have not.
Okay, so the story's great. Obviously, what they did is awesome. But the point he makes is Barry Zito and Miguel Tejada were on that team. Miguel Tejada won the MVP that year.
And Barry Zito was a Cy Young winner.
Yeah, they had Zito, Mulder, and Hudson.
Yeah, Mulder and Hudson. You had the 3 best pitchers all battling for the Cy Young on that freaking staff. That team was loaded.
But no, it was all about Scott Hatteberg learning how to play first base.
Right.
That's what won them the pennant.
You know what? I'm sure Barry Zito watched that and was like, this is some BS. Like, what the heck?
Yeah,
Nobody,
like
it's like when
know-
people watch Rudy, like Joe Montana broke everybody's heart when he said Rudy wasn't real. He's like, that's not real. It's like the real story.
Yeah. Rudy's real story should have been his embezzlement crimes. That would have been a great movie to watch.
Yeah,
Allegedly.
The fact that he's just kind of a petulant little prick that everybody hates who's ever met him in real life too. But
right,
I got stories about like having Rudy on on my podcast, my old show back in the day, that I will tell you guys off air one of these days. Just remind me. We'll kick back and have some cold ones, stuff that I don't want to share on here. But obviously, you got to get off to a hot start. You got to win one of these two at least. I know that means the Cup stays in Cleveland, but you got to go in that St. Louis game not being swept.
Yep.
Got to get in St. Louis not being swept, and that's basically all you can hope for at this point because Jazz Chisholm discovered his swing again, and it's bullshit. I don't appreciate it, Jazz. I like you very much most of the time, like 98% of the time. I really like watching you play baseball. Just not right now because I need you to be bad.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, Luis Arias kind of came down to earth finally. Like he's hitting only 340. But it's stop it, Marlins. Sandy Alcantara's hurt, and you guys are still winning. This is bullshit.
They've had pitchers dropping like flies.
They have.
Yeah.
Not cool. They've got the other De La Cruz, who's doesn't have the cool lettuce like our De La Cruz, doesn't run like the Flash.
Team lettuce for life. Yeah. Ben's got nice lettuce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ben's lettuce is coming in strong.
My field is barren. Someone salted the fields.
Yeah. That scared the heck out of me. The Bengals preview show, I get on here and Joe's bald, and I'm like, all right, so go ahead.
I was gonna say it's when your stylist gets COVID and you want a fresh cut for the live show, and you're like, yeah, screw it.
Yep. Let's get it.
Mother Nature was slowly taking care of it, so
yeah, I mean.
So the biggest thing I wanted to do with this show, and why I really wanted to have more than just Ben and I this week, and I want to have the live show, I want to get everyone's interaction. I want to just celebrate this because if this is it, damn it, we need to do it. And today I was in GABP. By the way, just so we're clear, my wife and daughter were also in a ballpark, so you know what happens when they're in the stadium. W's. So the Daniel family would happily accept any GoFundMe for season tickets next season so we can make sure there are as many games as possible, so they can go ahead and get some wins. But in the fifth inning, when they're getting no hit, I looked at Grace and I said, this might be the day. And she just looked at me and went, it's not going to be the day. And it wasn't the day. It wasn't the day. But the biggest story of today was, if this is in fact the end, Joey Votto has played his last game at GABP. Nothing's set in stone. Nothing's guaranteed. But Painted Black plays as far as his walk-up music, which he used in his MVP run. The standing ovation was incredible. I cried, not going to lie. It got very dusty in Section 537 today. Yeah. Very dusty. So I was crushed. But I think for his last at bat to be just a smoked single right off the bat, right between the hole in the first and second base into right field was fantastic. I know he really wanted that after striking out his first two at bats. A typical Joey Votto game, 1 for 2, hit by walked, this time hit by pitch, and smoked a single and had 2 strikeouts. But the ovation for a guy that has been through so much in this city, whatever his team gave him, as far as guys to play around him, Patrick Keevlahan, a guy that has been misunderstood for a lot of his career, a guy that has been blamed for the franchise's downfalls a lot in his career, to get that respect, to be in the stadium when he got that respect today was so awesome. And in typical Joey fashion, as he calls time, tips his cap, standing ovations going forever, he goes, I got to go hit.
Yeah.
Just awesome. And I've got a ton of really fun stories that our listeners have shared with me. if anyone in the chat wants to share any of their Joey Votto memories, I'd absolutely love to get to those. But I'll ask you two first. Ben, I know you love Joey Votto just as much as we all do. I've been to many games with you where we've seen Joey Votto hit some bombs, and we've been very, very happy and celebrating. I remember one particular, if you remember, we were in the stacks. It was pouring rain.
Oh yeah,
and it goes like right between the like bounces right between the stacks and rolls, and we're like, oh okay,
we'll
take that. But overall, just and I'm not trying to make it like he died or anything. Like, I'm not trying to get that, but the best Reds player of my lifetime, my favorite player to ever wear the uniform. So I just want to make sure we had some fun conversations.
No, I think honestly, like, he's been so good. Just for anybody that's a Reds baseball fan. I mean, to have a guy who wants to be here, he's not, chasing teams. He's not trying to. I mean, he made a commitment to play for the Reds, good, bad, or indifferent. He was a phenomenal player through all of the turmoil, through all the roster changes, through the rebuilds, through the playoff run, to people telling him that he takes too many walks, people telling him that he doesn't hit for power, we need him to hit home runs, people criticizing him. Through all that, Joey Votto has been an MVP. He's been an all-star. He's been the face of the city. He's been the face of the baseball city. He's got so much respect around the league. He's got respect from commentators that are outside of our city. He put eyes on our city even when nobody was paying attention to our city. As far as baseball-wise, the guy is a legend. He is arguably the greatest Red to ever put on a uniform. And he deserved all the flowers he got today. I had a friend of mine who I went to dinner with before I came on here, and he was actually at the game as well. And and the only way he could describe it was like everybody just knew. He's like, everybody stood up and they just knew. And the feeling in that stadium was just complete love for a guy that's given it all. Body, mind, soul. I mean, this guy has been through so much. He is a son of Cincinnati, even though he's from Canada. He's a son of Cincinnati. He's a Red. He's a Red for life. And if that was his last at bat as being a Red, or his last homestand being a Red, I mean, I'm glad that people appreciate what he did for Cincinnati Reds baseball. And I'm glad they were appreciative of the sacrifices that he made, because there are plenty of times he could have not resigned or went somewhere else or got chased a ring or did whatever, guys of his stature do. But he didn't. He stayed. He stayed in Cincinnati. He played for Cincinnati. Even though that team sometimes wasn't the best for him, or they didn't make moves to build around him, he stayed and he stuck it out, and he was true Cincinnati. So salute to you, Joey Votto. Hat off. Very appreciative. This was your last homestand. I am appreciative. Outside of Eric Davis, my favorite Red of all time.
Yeah, Ben, I think you're too kind to say that there were some transitional years or some difficult years in Votto's
career. Yeah, I know. I try to keep it as cool as possible, because it was.
For probably 2/3 of his career, he's been the only reason to turn on Reds games. Him or Cueto or Castillo, pick the other decent player on just some truly awful, terrible Reds teams. Yep. First off, a left-handed hitter named with the name Joseph. I'm already going to love the guy with pretty much every ounce of my being.
Same.
Just the consummate, just coolest guy. I got to meet him a couple times. For those, I'm sure everybody here watches the Bengals show, or watches I used to be a chauffeur back in another lifetime, and I drove him a couple times in 2014 when he had the distal quad strain, whatever he had, that just the leg issue. I picked him up twice from the airport at like midnight. He was out of town getting treatment, and drove him back to his house. It's late at night. You figure the guy would just want to be quiet, just kind of get a little bit or shut eye until drive back. As soon as we start going, he just starts talking about baseball and talking about how he just needs to be back out there. And I made the mistake of saying, yeah, I mean, the team, team's just not the same without you. And he immediately shot back, like, oh, no, the team's doing well. They don't need me out there. For those of you that don't remember, 2014 wasn't exactly a really good Reds team.
Yeah.
But but just for someone just to talk up a random stranger who's just trying to drive him to his house and just want to talk ball at, dead of the night, that's the kind of dude that he is. I still think some of the greatest moments he had weren't even playing ball. It was him just screwing with fans.
Mm-hmm.
Was it 2014 when there's Cleveland fans in the club seats or the diamond seats, whatever, right behind the home plate. And the guy says, I remember when you used to be good. He immediately snaps back. I remember when you used to be thin.
He points out the guy that's filming him and says, this guy's going to put this on the internet to try to be cool.
I've got something to lose. You've got nothing to lose because you don't have a life.
Yeah. That was the best.
Molly said the donkey gift, just the interviews.
Yeah.
Zach Cozart on, I think it was intentional talk. Zach Cozart.
Oh, the Mountie suit?
The Mountie suit.
the Mountie suit, but when Zach Cozart is on, he's being interviewed, Votto walks out in a donkey costume and a sign that says Vote Cozart.
That was the best.
Yeah, the Mountie suit. Nobody talks bad about the Red Surge. Oh my God, his horse Nibbles. What a funny, unique, weird
his
dude.
Horse.
Yeah, Nibbles the horse.
Nibbles the horse.
The best part of that, the most underrated part of that whole interview, is when because he's like, obviously he's like, I'm being super serious, and Kevin Wallace's like laughing. He's like, no, Kevin, you're not taking this serious enough, and he's just like still straight faced the whole time, just like microphone in hand. Do you remember there was that short time, early 20, I think I want to say 2013, 2014, where he was going on Lance's show every week and just like talking with him for about 15, 20 minutes every week for like one day a week. That was really cool. That was awesome. I really, really, really enjoyed when he would do that. So there's so much to talk about. There's so much in the chat going right now. I want to try to get quite a few of them. Robert did say he really loved his recent slam of Chris Russo. If anyone slams Chris Russo, you got my back. Anyone who tries to tell me Bob Cousy's better than Chris Paul, not listening to you. All right, not listening to it. Totally forgot about this. The old football jerseys he wore during interviews when he wore Kyle Farmer's high school football jersey.
He did.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Gym Day with Gym Day. That was awesome.
Both of those were incredible. They were incredible podcasts.
I really loved this year when he said him and Ellie were going to go back to the hotel and play video games all night while he was going to have some frescas.
There's some frescas. What the young people do.
That was great. Man, so I do want to read. There's a ton of these. I'll definitely get to as many as I can before we're done with the show today. But I got a ton of answers on social media. I want to make sure I read. And some of them brought back some really, really funny, some great memories that I wanted to go into. But I want to kind of read some of these off Twitter. Then I'll get to some of our Patreon listeners that really gave me some fun ones as well. Alex McDaniel mentioned when he was snubbed at first for the 2010 All-Star. Remember, he was not voted in. He had to get in the fan vote at the end. Mm-hmm. Right after he got snubbed, they were in New York playing the Mets. He had 2 home runs. As like, no, I'm a fucking all-star. And also won MVP that year.
Yes, he did.
Big Randy brought back the all-time greatest, one of my all-time favorite Joey Votto moments. That I just clicked back in my head. June 2012, they're playing the Indians. Derek Lowe is on the mound. For those who don't remember, Derek Lowe and Dusty Baker did not like each other one bit. Like they were not fans of each other. So Lowe and Dusty are kind of battling back and forth, talking a little mess to each other. And Joey goes up there to face him. There's a great clip. It's on YouTube. Does not step out of the batter's box the whole time. Mm-hmm. Works a walk. It's literally Lowe throws a pitch, and Lowe was the guy who would like to speed it up. And Joey just practice swings, gets back up, feet don't move one bit. Just works it. And drew a walk, and just literally it was awesome. So funny. Definitely worth it. You guys should check it out.
Mhm.
Matthew Groves brought up in 2010 when they were in LA playing the Dodgers, the 10 pitch at bat against Jonathan Broxton. I don't know if you guys remember that one. That's on YouTube as well. That's a freaking great at bat. Funny enough, they ended up being teammates 2 years later, and really like Broxton.
Did he show Broxton where the Chili's is?
I think he might have. Yeah, I think he did. Now you say something about that. Him Duncan. I named my youngest son Joseph after Votto. His first game he ever goes to, Joey hits a homer, and my oldest almost catches a grand slam by Scooter Gennett. That's
Oh,
bullshit.
wow.
That's
Yeah.
bullshit. This one's been brought up a lot. Quite a few people brought it up. Scott brought it up. Jeff Blomer brings it up here. The walk-off grand slam against the Nationals. I think that might be his signature game.
Yeah.
The three home run Mother's Day game. God, he would have won MVP that year if he doesn't get hurt. Flat out would have won MVP again. Good friend Kent from Obscure Former Reds brings up the Mets home run in 2017 when, as he gets back to the play after hitting the homer, he picks the bat up and gives it to the kid in the diamond seats in the front row.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
an all-time favorite. Oh shit! Robert brought this one up. This is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Have you guys seen this?
Yeah.
Ben, have you seen this?
Yes.
Jerry Seinfeld and David Letterman are like, wow, Joey Votto knows who I am. That's an all-timer.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that was awesome. Jonathan Stratman brings up quite a few. I was at his 2000 hit game. His post-game message after the tragedy in Uvalde, which, for those who know, our good friend Carlos Guevara has a lot of family in Uvalde. So that was obviously something that was really close to him. So, and Joey and Carlo have a really good relationship. The at-bat where he never stepped out of the box, I just talked about that. The almost unassisted triple play against Cleveland. That was like 2 weeks before I got married. That was pretty sweet.
Mhm.
The home run streak's my all-time favorite. Like, that was so fun because I was at the first game of the
So
streak.
close to
So
the
close.
I know.
Yeah.
wall scraper. I mean,
Yep.
And
almost.
I also love that when it broke and he was like, it wasn't the typical like, I was just working at bat, see what happened. He literally was like, I really wanted it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Scott brings up the girl in San Diego who got upset when he got ejected. So he signed a ball that says I'm sorry and how I acted. And I think brought her back to a game, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Joey Votto getting a TikTok was an all-timer.
Yes. Joey Votto's social media on TikTok. Yeah, that he was
man.
awesome on there.
The John Lieber matinee game against the Cubs, the 3-homer game. What are you saying, Joe? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, talking about him on social media, just him being all iced out to a chess tournament.
Yep.
In the middle of winter in Canada. He's wearing Gucci, like absolute matching Gucci shoes, sweatsuit. He's got grill. Like, wow. That's he picked up how to do social media really, really fast.
Yeah,
Yes, he did.
it was very good at it. Does anyone remember he was on the Cleveland show for an episode?
No.
No, I don't remember that.
Yeah. I mean, the Cleveland show is not exactly Seinfeld, so,
Hasn't aged very well either.
Right. So here's the ones we got from some of our Patreon group. Scott brings up, I'll never forget the Mother's Day walk-off grand slam. I was on my way back from Cleveland listening to the game on the radio. I was working retail at the time. So for those who don't remember, that game got rain delayed by 2 or 3 hours. It was a Sunday matinee Mother's Day game that didn't start till about 2:00. This is, so this time games are normally over by 3:30, 4:30 for Sunday games. He hit the walk-off homer at like 7:00 that night. It was just one of those days where it was just really dragged out.
Mm-hmm.
Our other favorite Canadian that's not Joey Votto, Joey Gaditza brings up in 2015, the 3 homers on 3 pitches game. That was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
We get some emotional ones in here. I really like these. So good friend Seth Shaner of the Patreon. I'll try to keep this as short as possible. My wife and I couldn't agree on a boy name for our son when she was pregnant in 2010. Sometime in August, we are chilling and he hits a 3-run bomb. As he's going around the bases, I suggest Joey, and she agrees that would work. Fast forward to October, and we get home with little Joey, and a friend exclaims he can't believe she let me name him after Joey Votto. She claims immediately we didn't, has no recollection of the home run idea. My Joey is a huge Joey fan and got his jersey autographed in Columbus last summer. Seth Shaner did it right, folks.
Wow.
He did it right.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah. Mike Perry, who gave us the greatest Nick Kroll Thanos Photoshop we got to use on a few episodes not too long ago. Amazing for that. I got to meet him on the field during practice. I got to sit in the dugout and watch. The Reds actually gave me a used jersey that day. He walked over and offered to sign it for me. After that, he shook my hand and my wife's hand, looked me in the eye and said, "Nice to meet you, and I really hope you enjoy the game tonight." It meant a lot that he was so genuinely friendly to random fans watching practice, and he has pictures of the jersey, which look awesome. Kevin Lynch, his entire social media revolution of the last 3 years, he went from kind of unknown personality-wise to super goofy and fun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mike Perry again. My dad had a similar opportunity to me. He donated a bunch of money to strike out cancer and got to watch batting practice. When Votto heard why he was there, he said, "I have something for you," and gave him one of his bats. He was such a consistent hitter that there was a worn-out spot in the shape of a baseball in the barrel of the bat. They talked for a while. My dad said he was a pediatric dentist. Votto talked about dating a dental hygienist and said he flosses every single day.
You know Joey Votto flosses every day.
Yeah, I was going to say he brushes the full. He's probably has one of those Oral-B toothbrushes with the app that shows you how well you brush your teeth. So I just I don't want to butt in and everything. Just people talking about Votto hitting home runs on day they were born. He hit a home run on the day my son was born, July 31st, 2009. That's the day that the Reds traded Edwin Encarnacion for Scott Rowland.
Yeah.
I didn't even think, I was in the hospital all day. I didn't really pay attention to the game. He also hit a home run on April 20th, 2015, which is the day my daughter was born. So he homered on the days both my kids were born. The same day was Brian Price having his epic meltdown about he was effing pissing up a rope because Steve Trent leaked that Tucker Barnhart was getting sent down. So again, I didn't remember the aspects of the game because the birth, and there's so much other bigger news that went on that day with the Reds that I just had to look up real quick. I'm like, holy crap! Like he knows how to bring Farfsings into the family with the. Well done, Joey.
Andrew Williams. In 2012, my dad won a meet and greet with Joey at Reds Fest. I actually won one that year with him too. Got to meet him at Reds Fest. The plan for me was to get a baseball signed for the family, but then my brother would try to sneak in a helmet to get signed so we could each have one. Joey caught us getting 2 autos for 1 ticket, and he clearly didn't care and signed both of them, made both of us kids' days. That's pretty great.
Awesome.
Nice.
I got 2. 2011, I went to Wrigley in September. Both teams were out of it. This is back when the Cubs were losing 100 games a year. So for those who didn't know, this was a big cheat. Big cheat. Big life hack. You could get Cubs tickets at that point at Wrigley Field because they were playing mostly night games in September at that point for literally $3-4. I sat behind home plate for $6.
Oh wow!
Well done.
At Wrigley Field. So we would get there early because if you get there early, it's when their road team's doing batting practice. So him and Brandon came up to me, and they each signed a ball for me. When he threw my ball back to me, I wasn't paying attention. I turned at the wrong time. It bounced off my hand, but the security guy was there and he handed it to me. So thankfully I got it. It's in one of these things here, but it's kind of faded because it was in ballpoint pen. Kids, when you meet your favorite baseball players, do not have them sign baseballs in ballpoint pen. That's strike 1.
Yeah.
Paint pen is the way to go. Let it dry. Looks fantastic for years. But baseball wise, I think the night he clinched MVP in 2010. So I don't know how many people remember this game. September 11th, 2010, they're playing the Pirates. This is when the Cardinals go on a streak again. It's a fight to the finish before the Reds really get a grip on the division. I think it's 2 weeks before Clinchmas, if I remember correctly. And he's kind of hit his first slump of the season. He's really not hitting everything. He's kind of going through it. And he breaks out of the slump by hitting a walk-off against the Pirates at GABP on an Oppo field, traditional Joey left field homer. And that was kind of like when you knew you like the MVP conversation was very loud, and that was kind of the night I felt like it got sealed. So that was awesome. I did laugh too about. Did you ever see that clip when he told the story about when he saw Roy Halladay at the 2011 All-Star game after the 2010 no-hitter?
No.
So I saw this. It popped up my TikTok feed recently, actually, where I guess because a couple things. If you ever go back and watch that game, which I don't think you should, if you're a Reds fan, it's very painful. I don't really think the Reds had bad at bats. I think Roy Halladay was just on one that day.
Yeah.
He was just lights out.
He could do that to the best of teams.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess Joey was trying to figure out how to get him out of sorts, and he was kind of doing this not leaving the batter's box, super strategic stuff. Kept calling timeouts in between pitches to kind of try to throw him off his rhythm. And he goes, so we were just like trying to figure out whatever we could do because he was just unhittable that day. He's like, so we get the 2011 All-Star game in Arizona, and I'm in the locker room, and Roy comes up to me and says he wanted to strangle me because of what I did in that game. Oh, bad. Mr. Juan brings up, remember how he came in second in Rookie of the Year, Giovanni Soto. I don't think that's as much of a travesty as second in MVP to Giancarlo Stanton.
No, yeah, that was awful. I just went back, and we were talking about that. I was went back and look at that season. And I'm like, how in the world do you not give him the MVP that year? Like, and I'm not saying that no knock on Stanton, but I'm like, geez, Pete Votto was so good that year.
Yeah.
Yes, Stanton had sexy numbers, but that was
yeah.
Rookie of the Year. Rookie of the Years are awesome, but you look at the hallowed names of those that have won it, like Pat Listach, Bob Hamlin, Jerome Walton,
Scott Williamson,
like 85 Dodgers that did nothing, like Todd Hollandsworth.
And Hollandsworth does have a Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, like it would have been great. It would have been cool, something to put on the trophy shelf. But the second MVP, I mean, that clinches like no doubt in anyone's mind that this guy's a Hall of Famer. I mean, we know better. We know he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But you get that second MVP, and everyone shuts up about the counting stats. Or, whatever kind of bullshit kind of argument they have against it. Like, no, he's a multiple-time MVP, received votes in multiple other years. So, yeah, that's egregious. And you would have hoped by that time that the voters would have been past just looking at, counting stats. And great, Stanton hit a ton of home runs, but I don't know. That was bad.
Yeah, that one, you see all these older baseball writers who try to say he's not a Hall of Famer, and they bring up the stupidest point every time. Well, if there's a runner on third base, he wasn't trying to stay in the strike zone to get a guy. I'm like, do you guys remember the people batting behind him? Let's say post Jay Bruce.
Yeah.
My God, I mean, I joke about Patrick Keevelahan all the time, but Patrick Keevelahan really hit behind Joey Votto. Was the protector of Joey Votto in a lineup for a year.
Yeah. You think he's getting any pitches to do anything with?
Yeah. Look, we all love Johnny Gomes, the personality. Johnny Gomes was at times the cleanup hitter for Joey Votto.
Yep.
Let's call it what it is.
Well, we loved Cowboys saying Johnny Gomes in the honey hole, so that was fun.
That was fun. Yeah, that was fun. Rob Parker, who I'm not a fan of. I'm not going to go here and trash him and say horrible things about him. I'm just not a fan of his work. But his whole thing about on-base percentage doesn't matter is so stupid. And that's the reason he's not putting Joey Votto in the Hall of Fame. Joey Votto's a 7-time on-base percentage champion. MLB.com in 2020 did an article. It was the top 10 hitters of the 2010s. Joey was third on that list, by the way, just so we're clear, behind Trout and Miguel Cabrera. I think no one's going to fight that.
Right.
Our Pujols definitely kind of decreased quite a bit post 2011. So, obviously. And Joey, from what Carlos has told me, has been very open that he's no Mike Trout. He's been like, that guy was better than me, and that's okay. He's
joked in interviews about how pissed he was when Votto came around, or when Trout came around, because he had an argument of being the best player, the best hitter in baseball. And the crowd
Right.
came around. It's like, yeah, no, there's no. Sorry.
I'll say this one before we head out of here because this is one of my favorites too. I think he talked about this quite a bit recently, where when he got drafted and he went to Synergy to work out, and Griffey was at the ballpark because he was rehabbing an injury. So there's a bunch of scouts standing around the batting cage, and Joey's like, I think 19 at this point. And he stands like Griffey, and he's like, guys, who am I? It does the whole thing, the swing we all did in the backyard, and just hits a bouncer right in front of Griffey. Oh, that's awesome. But with that being said, I wanted to make sure with how bad teams played lately. I just wanted to make sure we had a fun conversation about Joey and what he means. And I certainly hope he's here next year. I don't know in what vicinity that will be. I can't imagine it'll be for $22 million. I can't imagine it'll be for $7.5 million. But I want him here. I don't know what that's going to entail. But I think this team with all these young dudes definitely need a veteran leader. And I don't think that can be replaced. If it's not Joey Votto, you're going to get Randall Grichuk to be the veteran leader for this team. Let's be real here.
Yeah.
But we'll go ahead and close out this week's edition of Late Night Reds, brought to you by the Riverfront. Thanks everyone for doing this. This was awesome. For us to get to talk about our favorite player. This is awesome. This is what we want to do. This is just the blast we're having. Joe, what do we got going on? Are we doing anything special for Monday Night Football this week?
We'll be on live at 7:00 tomorrow. Again, we're still giving away Bengals tickets to new YouTube subscribers. Sign up. We will be giving away tickets to the October 15th game at Paycor versus the Seahawks. Obviously, we're going to have a lot to talk about who will or will not be under center tomorrow.
AJ McCarron.
I'm nervous. We'll say that, but we'll talk about that in about 21 hours. So
yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. If anyone's going to be for some reason or another at the Jake this week, I know it's called Progressive. I still call it the Jake. For these Reds Guardians games, stop me somewhere and say, hey, I'll be there. I'm really excited to be. I love that stadium. It's such a cool stadium. If you haven't been to a game there, I highly suggest it. Last thing, for all the shit that Cleveland gets, no one volunteers to live in Pittsburgh. This has been Tim Daniel. Have a good night.
Sign off.
We'll see you next week.